Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Mario Quinn. I am the co-founder and executive director of Level Up Studios, and I am also the project coordinator for the Creative Learning Transformative Evaluation conducted by the University of Pittsburgh School of Education in partnership with the Heinz Endowments. And I appreciate everyone for joining us today. This is our very first episode of our Creative Learning podcast. This is a podcast that explores the impacts of creative learning here in Pittsburgh. On this podcast, we will speak to an array of teaching artists and students from various out-of-school time creative learning organizations to learn more about their experiences and to learn about their stories of change and within the programs that they're in. So today is a very, very special episode because we have Alumni Theater Company on the show today, and I'm very, very excited for our very special guests. I'd like to introduce first Shakara Wright, who is a teaching artist for the Alumni Theater Company. Shakara, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. So if anyone who might be watching or listening to this doesn't know about Alumni Theater Company, can you just explain exactly what it is that they do and offer for youth here in Pittsburgh?
So at Alumni Theater Company, we create bold theatrical work that gives a fresh voice to urban artists and highlights their rich contribution to our community. Mm-hmm. That is our mission. That is what we do. We make art that is telling the stories of our students, what they're feeling, what they want to talk about, and use acting and singing and dancing and spoken word to do so.
That's amazing. So I know that you and I, we met a few days ago. Now I know you from a while back as well, but we met in a chat a couple of days ago, and you kind of have a very interesting story with your involvement with Alumni Theater Company. Can you talk a little bit about your involvement, how you became a teaching artist and things of that nature?
Absolutely. So I am a founding member of ATC. So I was here from the very beginning, and we started as a Hallie Donner, who is our executive producer and the director of Alumni Theater Company. She was the drama teacher at the Urban League of Pittsburgh Charter School, and the principal of the school asked her to get some of her fave graduated students from the school together to do a 10th anniversary celebration. And so we did the Wiz. And then after we did that, we were like, oh, guys, let's stay together. This was so much fun. And we just started like creating our own original work from there. Okay. And as we continued after I graduated high school, we kind of realized, well, ATC is forever. Mm-hmm. We don't really have to stop being together. So now we are in 3 different ensembles. We have a young artist, a teen ensemble, and a professional ensemble, which is people who, graduated from high school and on to college and all of that. So I am now a mentor to the younger children, and I am I guess sort of a artistic consultant. Sometimes I co-direct things and stuff like that.
Cool. And I think that's really amazing because, I'm a big fan myself of like peer-to-peer learning and peer-to-peer mentorship, and also like nurturing that relationship that you had from the beginning, being a founding member and coming into being a mentor. I think that's really important. Do you think that that is something that, if someone new, like let's say myself, were to join ATC, is that kind of the goal to mold me as a student to, potentially become a leader, a youth leader within the organization?
I don't think it is a goal, but I think indirectly.
Okay.
It's sort of just, we want to instill in all of our kids that they're important, that their ideas are important, that their viewpoint on the world is important, and that whatever they have to say, they can express that artistically however they wish to, and in fact should.
Right.
And also that if we want to be in the arts as a career, should go forth and do that. And now that, there's all of these professional ensemble members, they can look up to us and say, well, if you think that you're not that great at this thing or that thing or whatever, you can be, and look at all these people who have been through this program before you and can tell you, yeah, when I got to ATC, I wasn't the best dancer, I wasn't the best this or whatever, but I overcame because this is what I wanted, and you can too.
Right, and that's amazing, because there's that representation there, right? There's hey, I went through this, and you can get through this as well, and you can be successful in this, and I think that is super amazing, and that actually brings me to our next guest that we also have on the show today. We have Javier Drahnak and Katherine Bruce on the show, and they are two student members of the program. How are you guys doing this afternoon?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Doing great. And I just want to say thank you again, all three of you, for being on and doing this with us. But my next question is going to be for Javier. Javier, how did you get involved with ATC?
I first saw an ATC show when I was in school. My school decided we went and saw something called 13 the Musical, and I went and saw that. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It seemed kind of corny at the time, so I was like, it's cool. But the kids on the stage looked like they were having fun. I was like, that looks fun, right? But so then, I went home, and a bit later, I don't know, sometime within that year, the next, we saw something called Face Off X, which was a show that ATC was putting on, where the kids each had their own little, performance, their own piece that they wanted to perform, whether that was be a dance or a song, and it was all choreographed really well. There were group pieces, and it was just great, crazy lighting, just all this stuff. And these were kids my age, just up on that stage, dancing, singing, having fun. At the end, we voted for our favorite participant. And after that, I was like, that was really cool, and they were handing out flyers for an audition that was coming up. And I was like, that sounds fun. So I took a flyer and decided that I wanted to try to audition. I almost didn't, because I forgot the audition date was coming up and I didn't have anything prepared. But I remembered last second, and I threw a song together, sang it, practiced it, got ready for the audition, went to the audition. I auditioned in front of with all these different kids, had a good time. Then I got a call back, and I was told that I was in. So I was like, and ever since then, I've been in ATC, and it's been a good experience, I would say.
That's really cool. I love the fact that you mentioned, watching other young people doing their own thing. And I think it's really cool that's what ATC does. It's it gives students a voice. Do you feel like your voice has been amplified since you've been involved with the organization? Is there a story that you might be able to think of that you felt like you were able to truly use your voice in a piece?
Oh, 100%. Because in ATC, we write, or a lot of our shows we write for the young ensemble, which I just left. I'm now in the teen ensemble because I went up in a grade. So, but in the young ensemble, when we start off, we all, for a lot of the shows we write ourselves. We put together, we pick songs to sing and dance to, and we write the scenes, the pieces, and through writing those scenes and those pieces, I've definitely gotten a lot of moments to speak my mind. In this show that was called Dreams and Nightmares, I wrote a piece about police brutality, which was very topical and still is. And I can remember that moment very clearly up on that stage, just kind of getting to speak my word to an audience.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, when you're up on stage and there's an audience, it's just, you get to speak your voice to all those people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's just, it's kind of a feeling that's hard to describe, because
Right.
unless you've been up on a stage and have performed what you like, poured your feelings out to all those people, right?
Right.
But yeah, no, I've definitely gotten a lot of chances to do that.
I mean, and I can imagine how empowering that is. You know, I'm one who's like always nervous to do stuff, but it's like once I like get through that, you know, it's just like I'm like, wow, that felt so good to just express myself freely and talk about the things and through creative expression that I care about. And you know, that's the word that comes to mind for me. It's just like feeling really empowered. You know, Katherine, Kat, what do you think? How did you get involved with ATC, and can you talk a little bit about that youth voice and empowerment?
I sure can. So I got involved with ATC through a friend, actually. We were in 7th grade, I believe, when I found out that she did ATC, and then she passed out flyers for our grade. Her name is Mastery Key. She passed out flyers for our grade, and our whole 7th grade went and seen the show Face Off X, the same one Javier went to. And when I went there
Mm-hmm.
and seeing her on stage, it was just amazing, because I was like, wow, like that's my friend. Like I know her, and she's so talented. Like, and even before ATC, I've always been one to like do like school talent shows and like musicals. But ATC, when I watched it that day, it was just like really different. And I was like, wow, like I want to be a part of something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So after the show, I ended up taking a flyer and auditioning that summer, and I got in. So I've been in ATC since, and it's been really fun.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's amazing. And again, it's like you see a friend, you see someone who you know, and you see them up there doing their thing. It's like, wow, I could be there. I can do that. And I think that again, it's so amazing. You know, that representation that ATC offers, being able to see your friends shine and in their light. I think that's amazing. So I want to kind of learn a little bit about you all's experience a little bit deeper. My next question, what do you, for Shakara, what do you feel has been the most significant change for you in terms of being a teaching artist, at ATC?
What has been the most significant change? To me as a person and in my life, is that what you mean?
Yeah, like and two, I want you to think of it like what happened? What's the story behind that? Was there something that happened that allowed you to notice that change in yourself?
Well, I'm gonna be really honest right now. So I was kind of always a person who didn't really see myself as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I was always interested in the idea of being a mentor, because I love helping people, and I love the idea of being able to tell someone something that I wish someone would have told me
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger, or like whatever age. But teaching happened when the summer intensive for ATC started, which was a couple years ago. And a good friend of mine who's also a graduate of Alumni Theater Company, Michael Curry, Hallie put us together and said, well, I want you to co-direct this show with these kids. We're going to give you, I think it was 4 weeks to write the show and get it all together, let everybody know all the choreography and the songs and everything, and then put it up.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really, it was a super fun experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, from then on, I've been having, I'll help the kids write a group spoken word, or do an acting class, or do like little one-on-one monologue coachings and stuff like that. And it's really fulfilling to just see a young person that I think is so amazingly talented push themselves and be able to be a person that is you can do it, and being able to actively believe in them and push them to believe in themselves. It has really just made me value ATC and value artistry more, my own artistry, and like love that I can do that for someone, and being able to do that for someone else, I can do that even more for myself.
Right. I love that. And I think something that you said that kind of struck me, you said you don't look at yourself as a teaching artist per se, but more as a mentor. And I think when you have that perspective and you're going in there as like, I'm not, I'm not better than this person or above this person. I'm here to just guide. With that, it's easier to have those teachable moments. I feel like, where like, you didn't even know you were teaching something really, but it's like through that interaction, it's like, oh, wow, I learned something from that. Can you talk about maybe an experience that you've had where something like that happened?
So, COVID exists.
Yes.
It's unfortunate, but here we are. And I had to. I was co-directing a piece that actually our two friends that are here were in, and there was a scene that had like so many. We had almost everyone in the cast in the scene. We're in the theater, and we got to stay 6 feet apart, but still, and I'm like having to figure out these camera angles for like how are people going to be able to like get how the cameraman going to get this, but still like have everybody like be distanced, but it makes sense in the story. And that was really hard.
Right.
But it was so rewarding to work with Shay and to really like pull this different acting style out of the kids. I don't know. I'm having a moment like Javier was having.
I really appreciate your passion. You can clearly see that. It's been such an amazing experience for you. So thank you so much for sharing. But yeah, so Javier, and thinking about that question, thinking about a change, what has been the most significant change for you? How do you feel about in terms of like your experience with ATC?
Well, I can confidently say that when I started ATC, I was less confident. So I feel like ATC in general has just really helped me find kind of my voice and find myself in terms of like what I think and how to express that, right? And how the fact that you shouldn't really be apologetic for like one of the lessons that I've been told a lot less recently, but a lot is that like when you're up on stage, right, and you mess something up, you're not supposed to apologize for that. You just try it again and get it right, because I feel like in general that's a good thing to know in life, not to be apologetic for things that you're trying to do and that you're passionate about, right, and that you want to do right. And if you mess something up, you shouldn't apologize. You should just get it, just put your all into it, right? So also just being up on stage and having to be in front of an audience and perform well builds confidence, right? It's nerve-wracking, but having the confidence to go up there, do that, and do it well, right? And then getting that applause at the end, it really helps. I feel like it's helped me a lot in terms of just being less shy, right? So being able to speak my mind more, being able to understand what I want and how to express myself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think it's interesting, when you said, when you get up there and you mess up, don't like apologize for that. I think with the students, in my dance classes, and I say this all the time, I say, you got to have a Beyonce moment. It's like when Beyonce's up there, she can almost fall, get her hair stuck in a fan. It doesn't matter. She'll still keep going. And I think that's, it's about looking at failure as a stepping stone, as opposed to the end of the road, if that makes sense. And that's very powerful. And I mean, it's great that you, in your mind, you've applied that to things in life. It's like it's okay to make mistakes, and I think that more students and young people really need to understand that it's okay to fall down, but it's like are you going to get up? Are you going to keep going? That's important. Can you think of a story where something like that specifically happened to you, Javier?
Yes. There's quite a lot of moments on stage in which I've just like dropped the ball. Not like fully, but like
It was clearly
yeah, like even outside of ATC, I remember I did a show called Hairspray. I did Hairspray, and in it, I missed my cue by a little bit to get out on stage, and I was like, "Oh man, that really sucks." But you just got to go out there. The show must go on. You got to go out there. You got to just kind of keep going. You can't just give up, because if you do, then you're just hurting everybody else around you, as opposed to just like if you just kept going. Because even though you messed up, you can't, if you give up now, then it's letting everybody else down, right? So you just gotta keep going for them and for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said that.
I agree with you, Javier. I think like there's many moments, especially in performance, where we have to continue going, because like you said, you stopping can affect the whole team. And that's like one of the great things about ATC is like we are a team. Like there's like not one man left behind. Because I want to say one of my fumbling moments on stage, there was a time and there was the word was unapologetically, and for some reason I couldn't say the word at all. Like I was trying to say, because we were in the middle of the piece, and I'm like so the people around me helped me, and them all at the same time said unapologetically. And when I was watching it back, I was like, dang, I really messed it up. But it seemed like it was on purpose, because like the rest of the team seen that I was like struggling for some reason. I don't even know why I said the wrong word, because I knew what the word was. My tongue got twisted up. But yeah, it's definitely a team effort when it comes to ATC all the time.
Absolutely. I'm back. Hey. All right, cool. Yeah, I got knocked off there. I don't know what happened. But Kat, I know you were talking a little bit about your experience. Can you dive deep into that a little bit more? Can you talk about a change that has happened for you that you've seen as a result to participating with ATC? Can you hear me?
Is he muted? I can't hear.
I hear Mario.
Okay.
I also hear you. Can you hear everybody else, Kat?
What happened?
Oh, well, talking about fumbling moments.
Is anybody else here? Because I can't hear.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well,
well, I'm gonna put the question
I
in
can't
the
hear
chat.
anybody. Should I like leave and come back?
Yeah.
I'll make sure she knows.
So if anybody, for everyone who is watching this, please feel free to comment in the comments section if you have a question.
As a person, ATC has done a lot for me. Mostly, I think it has allowed me to actually be a person and learn that people make mistakes. It's also helped me with my confidence as a performer and as a person. I think that's the biggest thing because, when I first started with the whole ATC thing, I was like very like insecure and real timid and shy all the time. But as I perform more, I've felt myself as a performer grow so much when it comes to confidence, whether it was right or wrong. Like I was confidently wrong at some moments. And I feel like that was the greatest thing because my performance personality has definitely wiped off on me as a person.
So, absolutely. That's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing. My next question is for Shakara. And thinking about identity, how has your involvement in ATC helped shape how you think about yourself and your identity?
I would say it shaped my identity in the way that it showed me all the things that I am. When I first found theater generally, it was with Hallie at Urban League, Pittsburgh Charter School, and I used to be a visual artist, and I like drew and like colored and stuff like that all the time. And then I found theater, and I was like, "Oh, this is it. I love this." And then through ATC, I found out that I'm also a poet and I'm a playwright, and I have the potential to be a choreographer, and just kind of made me understand how multifaceted I actually am as an artist. And it really empowered me to pursue any of that because I had a team that anything I want to get done, I can get that done with this team of people that I have, that I know, that I can just call and say, hey, I want to direct this thing. Will you guys come and sit and let's like do a reading of it? Can we sit and talk about this? Like, what do you think about this? Like, can we just sit here and have a jam session and make a song? Like, I could be a rapper if I wanted to.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, that's partly because of ATC.
I see. I love like you guys. I love the accountability for your team that you all have. Like you both, all three of you talked about, how important those relationships are and how you really value having each other's back and things of that nature. And I think, what it sounds like to me is that there's this sense of family when you're there. Is there, am I right with that? Or
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
We're all like,
now has this, and I guess this is for Javier a little bit, has this like this feeling of family, has that helped you when in terms of like becoming the performer and person that you are, the artist that you are?
Yeah. Being able to being friends with everyone on the stage and being able to like kind of know how they operate and how you operate, right? It helps like kind of form a connection on the stage that's hard to get if you don't really know each other well.
Right.
So it's easy to play off of each other, right? Like as Kat was saying, if someone messes up, you're more likely to be there to catch them, right? And just it's nice just to have like-minded people be able to be in the same room together and create work together that everyone else can enjoy, right? So just knowing that people are there for you is definitely helpful.
Yeah, you can't have a bunch of Debbie Downers in the group. You know, when you're trying to get things done. I think that's so amazing. So I'm gonna go to Katherine. Katherine, can you hear me? Glad to have you back.
I can hear everybody now.
And thank you everyone who's watching this for bearing with us with our a few technical difficulties here. But again, we're all getting used to this online world. I know that I'm kind of on the fence with it, but Kat, can you think of a significant change that has happened? Excuse me, not a change. Can you talk about how ATC has helped shape the way you think about your identity?
Yes. So ATC does this thing where every few months we have a list of goals, and if we achieve those goals, we don't do anything except make more goals to achieve.
That's
So
awesome.
I feel like that's one of the greatest things that ATC has taught me, was to never limit yourself. Don't settle when you can always be greater than what you already are.
That's wonderful. I love that. Very powerful. Is there something that happened that kind of got you to, like with those goals, like what, is there a story you can talk about maybe that kind of explains how that thought process, or, how you understand that, how that came about?
Yeah. So there was a moment. So the first time I've ever set the goals, like I've completed the goals, and then I wasn't expecting her to say, okay, now we have to do more.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm looking back on it, it's like the mindset that I used to have was, when you get to the top, there's nowhere else to go. But in reality, there's always somewhere else to go, even after you've reached the top.
Right. I love that. I mean, wow. That's super powerful, because it's like, there's always something that we can learn. I think that I have a trainer that I work with, and he says to me, the journey is everlasting. And I'm like, when he first said it, I'm like, what are you talking about? But it's like once you reach that plateau, I guess, like there's always, room for growth. There's always something, you don't know. There's always something you can't, you can't do, that you might be limited to. And so I love that is a thought process that you're getting through your participation with ATC. So we all know that this year, 2020, has been very funny. We've been dealing with a global pandemic. Really just like, it was like hitting a brick wall out of nowhere. And it's like, we have this extended winter is what it felt like to me. And we can't go out, we can't do this. Can you, Shakara, can you talk a little bit about, how has this program supported your teaching or your mentoring during this time? Has there been challenges? What has worked for you?
I'd say the hardest thing for me has been having to do everything over Zoom. When we were on lockdown and just straight quarantine, nobody go outside, every mentor would meet with their mentees as a group once a week, and then also individually once a week, just to talk about school, what's going on with them, talk about their goals, talk about how they can continue moving forward artistically while, living through a global pandemic. And after we were in the green or the yellow stage, we got back to the theater, and we have completely different protocols. We're cleaning the whole place every few hours, and everybody's got to stay 6 feet apart, like don't touch each other, no hugs. And I'm a really huggy person, and that's hard too. I'm like, I want to tell you you're great, and then seal it with my love physically, and I can't. So I've been like, hey,
Yeah.
all right.
Right.
Okay, I'm here for you. And like, I'm glad that I could continue to let My mentees know that I'm there for them, but it's been hard having to not really see people very often, and then if you see them, you can't even really see them the way that we would be seeing them.
Right.
And because, as we said, we're very like family oriented, so it's like, these are my little brothers and sisters.
Right.
Can't even,
You can't seal it.
wrap it up.
I love that. I think we all had to really adapt to this thing, and I think about like just dancing and teaching dance. It's like when you're in that room, there's a vibe. There's a thing happening when you have those interactions, face-to-face interactions that you can't get online. It's just not the same. So I can understand how that can be tough, but I commend you, for still doing it, for still putting your passion and putting your best foot forward with that, without a doubt. Javier, how about you? What how has this COVID thing affected your learning at ATC?
Well, it's definitely been different. We've been doing a lot of different kinds of shows and such because you can't really, until recently, we couldn't be in the theater together. And even now, it's only like a very small cast of like 5 kids, and you're distanced the whole time. But before that, we had to do online shows and such, right? So we had to put together our own pieces, make sure during the mentor season or mentor sessions that Shakara was talking about, we did things like practice monologues, all the kids. I actually ended up writing my own little play over that time called Burnout Diner.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I apologize for cutting you off. I'd seen a comment that said you wrote for Dreams and Nightmares.
Oh yeah, that was what I was talking about earlier. The piece about police brutality.
Okay.
Yeah, that was actually before COVID. But recently, as I was saying, I wrote like this this little play called Burnout Diner, and that was really big for me because it was a thing that I haven't really done. I found it super enjoyable. I really liked writing. It was interesting to see that process, and it's just something new, right? Which I don't really know if I might have done it, but I don't think it would have been as focused on before COVID because we've been doing other shows, and I would be developing my artistry in other ways. But I feel like it's definitely been interesting to see what the different kinds of things that the different ways we managed to find to do things during COVID, right? Like a movie that me and Kat were in, which is just like a bunch of shorts where we filmed far away from each other, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's cool because it's like, of course, this is a pandemic. It's a bad thing, right? But in terms of like being able to be creative, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise. It's like, oh, I didn't know I could do this thing as well. Now this way of putting a movie together that can be a normal thing moving forward. You know what I mean? It's like you find these. It's like Bob Rossi's happy accidents, right? Where you can, take something that, is bad per se, but make it into something even greater. You augment it to something amazing. And I think that's awesome. I feel like, for a lot of organizations and, a lot of creatives here in Pittsburgh, we've been able to kind of shift into that and just make the best out of this thing. Now, Kat, how do you feel about that? The pandemic, how it's affected you. What are you hoping for? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the pandemic has affected me a lot because I'm used to being out and about and around people and like being like close to people and stuff like that. So when it first started, all of the ATC stuff that we were doing was over Zoom calls and stuff like that. And it was cool at first. I was like, okay, I'm gonna accept this at first because, you know, it's gonna be back to normal soon because of all the quarantining. But then that 1 month turned to 2, 2 months turned to 3, and then it just kept going. So yeah, online it was definitely way more frustrating being online in rehearsals all the time. I just wanted to get back to the theater. So when we did get back to the theater, it was definitely better than online because I'm seeing like a person now. Like, it's been so long.
Right.
And yeah, like Javier said, when we got there, it's always social distance all the time. But, you know, I'm not mad at it because it was like when I stepped into the theater, it was like ATC is like a home away from home. So it was like I've been gone for so long. Like, I'm like really happy to be here. And even during the whole quarantine situation, I found myself doing other artistic things outside of theater. Like, I started like drawing and writing as well as Javier. Like, I wrote a play.
Says it here. I see they made a comment that says you wrote a play. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I forgot what I titled it, but this play was about gun violence, and there was like a girl and her brother was involved with this stuff who was like it's a lot. It's like layers on layers, but in the end it turned out really good. Like, even when I read over it, I was like, wow, I wrote this. So it was cool to see my development as an artist.
That's amazing. And I know that feeling, it's great. It's like when you actually, you know, step outside of what's normal or that comfort zone, and you go through this process, and you finish, you complete it, and you get to see it and live it and breathe it. It's an amazing feeling, you know, when you can create something that you can be proud of. So I definitely commend you for that. And you mentioned gun violence, and so that actually takes me to my next question. We know that along with the crazy pandemic and, you know, the zombie apocalypse now, we've also had some, you know, serious things happen that've been happening for a while in terms of innocent Black lives being, you know, taken. Shakara, can you talk about, you know, how the, you know, those events, you know, that have happened, with Black Lives Matter and the injustices in our country. Can you talk to us about how that has affected, you know, your teaching and just your involvement?
So there was this virtual festival called the Breath Project that I don't want to say people's names incorrectly, so I'm not gonna say anybody's names, but ATC worked with City Theater and lots of theaters all over the country put together an 8-minute and 46-second piece because that is how long the George Floyd video was.
Okay.
And ATC put a piece together. I directed this piece. Kat was a part of it, and she wrote part of it. And it was such a beautiful piece, and the festival was so amazing. And you can still check it out on their website. The archive has everything in there, and you can see ATC's piece and lots of other fantastic pieces from artists of color. And I mean, ATC always talks about these things. We've been arts activists for a while, but I think it's just gotten. I mean, it's just harder. I don't really know what else to say really about it other than it just kind of keeps getting harder because. What do you do? Do you stop crying and then feel desensitized about it?
Mhm.
Do you keep protesting? Do you find other ways to fight?
Mhm.
And the answer is whatever your answer is.
Right,
I don't
right.
think there really is a wrong answer, but it's just hard.
Yeah.
And it's even harder, like looking at all of these Black children that I love so much,
Mhm.
that I'm just worried about them.
Mhm.
I'm worried about them. I'm worried about everyone.
Yeah.
And I think when I was younger, I used to, like, when you take blame on yourself
Mhm.
so that you can feel a sense of control over the situation,
Mhm.
so that you can feel like there's something you can do. Like, well, if I do this, then maybe this will stop. I did that about world issues.
Mhm.
And it's weird now that I don't, like, I don't, I feel better and I don't feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I feel like, okay, it's not all on my shoulders when I don't make something happen. Like, the world is not crumbling because of me,
Right, right.
but I still have to do everything that I can do, everything that's in my power, in my bubble, to make happen, to, at the very least, let Black children know that they are important.
Mhm.
I have to do that.
Right.
So,
No, I agree with you. I feel like it's like for me, it's like I take a personal responsibility for that. It's
mhm,
being that influence, being that
yeah,
mentor, that person that, I had a friend the other day. He's like, Mario, do you realize that you help raise children? And I never really looked at it like that, and it's real, it's real when you turn on the news and you see this happening over and over again and no one getting justice for it. It's very disheartening, and I feel like I can speak for a lot of people of color, Black people, African American people, around the world. It's just like it's tiring. We're tired, you know. I remember having conversations with friends, and that's just it's like we can do we continue to cry? Do we continue to protest? And I think, like you said earlier, I think all of that is important. But we have to also find ways to heal. I think that needs to be the conversation because, there's a lot of mental health that goes into this. And I think that there needs to be more healing spaces. Yeah, and I do agree that, like, you know, we are those change makers, right? But it's not solely on us, but that everything that we do, every interaction that we have with another person, uh, it ripples out. It's like a ripple effect, and it affects the energy of the entire planet. So
mhm.
I really, really appreciate your words. I know Tom commented and said that he appreciates your beautiful words. Thank you so much for sharing. Javier, yeah, can you tell us, how these injustices, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, how have these things affected, your learning and just, how you're feeling this year?
Well, it definitely put a big damper on the year, as even though it was already, not really great. You would have thought, like, as I remember the day um, the George Floyd incident happened. I remember I was talking with someone. They were like, "Yeah, you would have thought this stuff would have, like, at least, like, slowed down or stopped because people are all in their houses, but it hasn't."
Right.
I felt like that really, like, said something. The fact that even though we're all isolating ourselves, there's still problems with people just being terrible to each other, right? And that was not definitely fueled a lot of creative works that, like, I wrote. You can wrote a lot about it, thought a lot about it, and I feel like it also, I feel like it brought a lot of people together because of people trying to, like, for protests and such, like-minded people trying to kind of think about what happened, cope with that, right?
Mhm.
Speak out against it. like I went to the big march in DC on Martin Luther King Day. And it was great to just see just all those people gather together for the same cause, right? So that it definitely, I don't want to say inspired, but fueled a lot of like art. It gave a lot of artistic energy, like a new some drive, right? Even though that drive shouldn't be there, right? It gave drive to speak out for or against what's happening in the world and the reasons why those are happening. Speak your mind on it, right? Or just have an outlet so you can speak your mind out for yourself, right?
Absolutely. I feel you there. You know, and that's what I love about this creative learning thing, this thing called art, is that it does give us that vehicle to, you know, get those feelings out, those thoughts out, those ideas out, and allows us to, you know, tell stories that aren't heard. Like, you know, there's a lot of people in this country who don't see these injustices as wrong, you know, because they're getting information, misinformation and things like that, you know, and so they have a completely different perspective on this thing. It's like they're living on an island in this bubble where, like, no, they should have, you know, why did he resist arrest? You know, it's like, oh, well, he probably has you know, a bad background or something. And it's just like, you know, I feel like art allows us to be that voice, you know, to show people like, hey, like these things are real and it's not what it's made out to be. You know, all human lives should be valued, especially Black lives. You know, and so I think, you know, we play a very important role when it comes to shifting, you know, that, you know, and changing things in our world. And so I'm happy to be a part of that journey, you know, with you all. So, Kat, can you, you know, we'll end it with you. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, just your feelings around that, around, you know, the injustices and stuff?
Yeah, for me, I thought that it definitely opened my mind to a lot of people that I used to surround myself around, especially in like a school environment. It was like the same like kids that weren't Black that were sitting there asking for the N-word pass they weren't here for me like I thought they would be, you know? And it was kind of like disheartening. It was like, dang, like I thought that you were, you know, this subject particularly definitely does hit me a little bit harder because it's with this, it's just like I'm tired, like myself, you know, and I know that a lot of people around me are. But another thing about this whole situation is that it was definitely, this was a movement, not just one movement, but like movements. And I feel like it was different this time around because this time it wasn't just a trend, you know, this time this is like real life. And I felt like that gave me like a lot of hope about years to come. I know we're definitely not there yet. I'm not going to say that, but we're starting somewhere. And I think that's like real important that we are starting to move. And I feel like even with the whole quarantine thing, like we're starting to be heard. And that was like very enlightening to me.
Absolutely. And I hear you. I think, you know, there's been a shift. Like a lot of people are realizing like, yo, this thing is really bad and it needs to stop now. I mean, you see the amount of allies we've had at these protests, at these demonstrations. You know, it shows. It's a lot of people are just like, enough is enough, you know. And so that does give me personally, like, you know, this little, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, I can, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, this next decade, you know, I hope that things can really change for the better. And I have faith. I really do have faith in our country and faith in humanity in general. But yeah, I really appreciate all of you. And like the comment below says, so proud of you guys. I want to say how proud I am of you for, being courageous enough to share with us your thoughts and feelings on that subject, because I know that that can be a very difficult thing to talk about and very emotional thing to talk about. So thank you so much for sharing. So we're running down to the last. We made it through. We made it to the finish line. I only have one more question for you all in terms of the future. Of creative learning. We're talking about the next decade. What are your hopes? What do you hope for in terms of creative learning? Where do you want to see it go? Where do you think it needs to go? And how can you know different intermediaries, maybe like A Post or Remake Learning, people like that, how can they help make creative learning better for generations to come? What are your thoughts? Let's start with Shakara.
I think a good start is letting art be something that is really everywhere. You know what I mean? The way it's everywhere in real life. Like, people act like, like acting, that's like not a real career goal, or dancing isn't. But then you go home and you watch So You Think You Can Dance, or whatever TV show that you're watching. I think that we need to get art back in schools. I think it needs to be a priority. And I think using art to kind of find what people want to do and what children like want to do with their lives, and like really like honing in on that at a younger age, I think is what needs to happen. The way that school systems work in other countries, like I'm like, is it Germany? I'm not sure exactly where, but I was watching a documentary that was just talking about the way the different school systems work in other places, and I was just like, why aren't we doing that?
Right.
Why are we using art to help people find what they want to do and what they love? So that's what I think needs to happen.
Definitely. It takes me back. I came up. I used the hashtag. I said, hashtag art is essential. Because it is. It's in everything. It's like we wouldn't be interested in things and information if it wasn't pretty and didn't look nice and didn't
absolutely
provoke some thought. And I think that we put those a lot of times that's put in the back burner. But I think like it's super important now to allow people the gift of creative expression, because it can heal, it can change, it can change the world, if we allow it to. So Javier, how do you feel about that? What are your hopes?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Shakara on the fact that I would like art in schools, because I feel like I feel like a lot of people don't understand the fact that they can be artists and that art can help them, right? Because I feel like other than like an essay you write in English, people are just like, man, like it's kind of like very geared for a specific kind of person, they feel, right? But everyone wants to be an artist in their own way, whether that just be singing in the shower, dancing at a dance party, right? You want to be able to express yourself, and
Right.
I feel like having a good outlet to do that is something that should be available for any kid, right? So that they can kind of develop their thoughts or say something that's been really bugging them or on their mind, or just even to have fun, like having fun with castmates or people from ATC. Just it's some great times, some great memories that you won't really find a lot of other places, because you get so close just doing the same show and practicing the same thing with each other every day and striving for a goal, right, that you can all reach together. Like I feel like that's important for a lot of people. So I feel like it should be more readily available, or more known to people in the community, whatever community that may be.
I agree. I think, accessibility is what I'm hearing as well, because it's like there's a lot of things. There's a lot of places that students and people can go to learn art and engage in art in different ways. But I think it's like making it more accessible, putting it in the places that it's not, and definitely school, right? It used to be there and now it's not there. And so the idea of even like, oh, I can make a career from this, that's not even a thought process anymore. It's like, I want to, play football or, be an astronaut, it's like, but yeah, you can make a living from being a creative, you can make a living from being a dancer, and it's quite rewarding, and there's experiences that you get, relationships that you build, that, like you said, Javier, you don't really get that in a lot of other arenas. So thank you very much for sharing. Kat, you're last here. What are your thoughts on, on creative learning? Where do you want to see it go?
I think students, even if they don't consider themselves artists, they shouldn't be afraid to like show their talent. Because I know like a lot of kids who keep that hidden, even though like they're like really talented. I just want us not to like fall into this systematic thing where we go to school and then work a 9 to 5 every day for the rest of our lives. I feel like we should be more open to do what we really want to do. And I know this because if you would have asked me this question 4 years ago, I would have said, I want to be like a doctor or a nurse. But now my process is like, I want to do something that I will enjoy doing for the rest of my life, or at least until, I become a senior citizen. But yeah. Now, if you ask me that question, I would say that I want to be an actress, and I want people to have that mindset, not to be afraid to go for what they really want.
I love that. I think, and it's so important. It's like, what it makes me feel is like people deserve to be happy, right? And I think happiness comes with, knowing yourself, being able to be your authentic self, right? And being able to feel as though there is some purpose behind who you are in your life and what you bring to the world. I think that is what brings happiness. And I think, again, you see a lot of bad things happening in our world because people aren't happy. And I think if we could figure out a way to focus on like, helping young people, realize the things that they're truly passionate and that truly allow them to be who they feel they are. That's super important. And it just that's the word that came to my head, is just like happiness, So yeah, thank you all so very much, Shakara, Javier, Katherine, for sharing. This has been a very engaging and thoughtful discussion. And again, like I said earlier, I'm so very proud of all three of you, just for all that you do. So thank you so much for joining us, and everyone who's watching or listening to this podcast. We appreciate you for tuning in. This has been episode 1 of the Creative Learning Podcast. I'd like to give a special thanks to the University of Pittsburgh School of Education, and a special thanks to the Heinz Endowments. I'm Mario Quinn. We're out. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.